Saint John the Apostle. He was with his brother James fishing at the Lake Galilee, that is in the Middle East, between Syria, the West Bank, and Israel. And there he was fishing with his brother James, and when Jesus passed them, and he and his brother James became part of the 12 disciples of Jesus. And James, Saint John the Apostle, and also Peter witnessed, for example, when the raising of Jericho's daughter, and the transfiguration and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. And also, it is probably Saint John the Apostle who is the beloved disciple. And at the Last Supper, where Saint John the Apostle leaned to Jesus Christ, and also Jesus Christ charged him to look after his mother during the crucifixion of Jesus. And also he and Peter were the first one when going to the tomb on the morning of the resurrection. Then later in life, he was probably at Ephesus in western Turkey and writing things there, for example, and there were many people believing in other gods, for example, in Diana, and there was the high priest of the people who adorned Diana, and he challenged him then with drinking a poison cup, so the high priest, Saint John the Apostle. And he was then bent at some time by the Roman Emperor Domitian onto the island Patmos, and where he got the vision of the apocalypse. Saint John the Apostle stood up for a church of inclusiveness, no matter what class, gender, or ethnic background a person has, and he also wanted and tried to help people to overcome the stereotypes or prejudice against other people, for example, the Samaritans. And some lines which he wrote are, for example, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God, and knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love." And that is according to Malcolm Day's A Treasury of Saints book on the page 42 and 43. Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn Biographyology. Today, Saint John the Apostle. And after we've done with it, we're gonna do tiptoe yoga. And if you participate in the tiptoe yoga, then it's very honest. Saint John the Apostle, he died late in the 1st century. So he lived in the 1st century, so 0 something. And he is the patronage of theologians, of writers, publishers, and booksellers. Theologians, writers, publishers, booksellers. And I want to say in our presentation, which we're here preparing, this quote out of here, the first epistle of John, chapter 4, verse 7 to 8. So we're trying to, while we're preparing the presentation, to memorize these 3 lines. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is God, is the first one. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is God. Now, these famous verses sum up the message of Saint John, whose repeated urgings of his followers to love one another echoed Christ's commandment. Okay, I think we understood what was said here. Here was said that he, Saint John the Apostle, was echoing Christ's commandment to love one another. And he was saying this urgently to the people around him. Living at a time when much was speculated about the meaning of Christ's incarnation on earth, John encapsulated its purpose in this notion of love. He, more than any other 1st century writer, with the exception of St. Paul, became the talk-bearer of the essence of faith, which he elaborated in his Gospels and letters. Here is said that he and St. Paul became at the forefront of to speak what the essence of faith is, which he had elaborated in his Gospels and letters. But he has not said what it is, but it could be what was said in the first part of that section, which was that he urged the people to love one another. Discipleship. Chosen to be discipled while fishing at Lake Galilee, John and his brother James were called sons of thunder by Jesus for their fiery temperament. Okay, John and James were 2 brothers, and they were at the Lake Galilee fishing, and Jesus came past them, and they became 2 of his disciples. Jesus called them sons of thunder because they had a fiery temperament. Some believe this to be an allusion to their status of zealots, I don't know what it means, or freedom fighters intent on raising a rebellion against the Roman occupiers. And now I don't know what an illusion is. It must be the opposite of illusion. But what would it even be? So it is not illusion, the opposite of illusion. It must be something else. It sounds more like it would be connecting something or something. So it has probably nothing to do with illusion, the word illusion. Okay, whatever. They were fighting, they were opposing and raising rebellion against the Roman occupiers. It could be also a reason for describing them with the word sons of thunder. More apparent is that he became one of an inner group along with James and Peter, who were privileged witnesses to certain events such as the raising of Jairus' daughter, the transfiguration, and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. Okay. He was fishing with his brother John, so John and James. His brother James. He's John. John and James fishing. Maybe I could say it somewhat that we're opposing and raising rebellion against the Roman occupiers, and he also was witnessing Jairus, the raising of Jairus' daughter, the transfiguration, and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. I think it's some things, I know some things about these three things, but not really, otherwise I would say. So the raising of Jairus' daughter, I think she was sick. I think that is that story, and the transfiguration, they don't know what it is. And the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane, these are the three things which St. John the Apostle witnessed, along with James and Peter. John is thought to be the mysterious beloved disciple. If you wanted to remember the thing. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God and now of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God and now of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God. Born of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. For everyone who is born of, for everyone that loveth is born of God. For everyone that loveth is born of God. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. For love is of God. And now it makes sense. And everyone that loveth is born of God. For love is of God, for everyone that is born loveth God. For love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God. For love is of God, and everyone that loveth. For love is of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God, and now of God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. He that loveth not knoweth not God. He that loveth not knoweth not God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. Okay. He was witnessing the raising of Jairus' daughter, the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane, and the transfiguration. John is thought to be the mysterious beloved disciple of the fourth gospel, since he is not named in person elsewhere in the book. It is he who leaned against Christ's breast at the Last Supper, he whom Jesus charged with the care of his mother Mary at the foot of the cross, and he who ran with Peter to the tomb on the morning of the resurrection. Okay, St. John, the Apostle, he witnessed the raising of Jairus' daughter, the transfiguration, and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. Furthermore, is he thought to be the beloved disciple, maybe mentioned the beloved disciple, that he leaned against Christ at the Last Supper, that Christ said that he should take care of his mother when Jesus was crucified, and that he and Peter, it was also with James and Peter, the other three witnessing, that he and Peter ran to the tomb at the morning of the resurrection. Okay. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. Love is of God. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God, and now of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God, and now of God. He who loveth not, knoweth not God, for God is love. He who loveth not, knoweth not God, for love is God. For God is love. Later life. There is some doubt about whether the Apostle John was the same person as the evangelist who wrote the fourth gospel. If they are one and the same, he wrote it in Ephesus, one of the Greek-speaking colonies of Christianity founded in Western Asia Minor and Turkey, and where he settled. So if he was writing the fourth gospel, when he had done it on the Greek-speaking colony called Ephesus in Turkey, where he was settling. By this time he was an old man living at the end of the 1st century. The city, as with most in the region, was a hotbed of pagan idolatry. One of the most popular gods was Diana, whose high priest, it is said, once challenged John to drink a poisoned cup, giving rise to a symbol and art of the viper in a cup. He was living on Ephesus, that is somewhere in Turkey, and there were many people believing in other gods, one of them Diana, and he challenged the high priest of the people who were adoring Diana to drink a cup of poison. Now the high priest challenged him. While condemned by Emperor Domitian to exile on the island of Patmos, John received the vision of the Apocalypse, or Book of Revelation, which he addressed to his 7 churches of Asia. I don't understand the part with the 7 churches of Asia, but the Book of Revelation, Vision of the Apocalypse, he got the notice of the coming apocalypse while bent to exile through the Emperor Domitian to Patmos. Okay. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, for love is of God. And everyone is born, and everyone that loveth is born of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God, and of God. He who knoweth not God loveth not. He who that loveth not knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God. He that loveth not knoweth not God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. Love for all. One of the traits of the early church was its openness to all, irrespective of class, gender, or ethnic background. One of its pioneers was St. John. Despite being Jewish, he ignored the traditional contempt his people held for Samaritans and confirmed thousands of them in the new faith. The first of the Jews, and confirmed thousands of the Jews in the new faith, Christianity. The story of a woman of Samaria, told only in St. John's Gospel, likewise illustrates how prejudice and stereotyping societies can be overcome. Okay, he tells in one of his stories in his Gospels a story about a Samaritan woman, but he has not written what. So I don't know if it is the story of a good Samaritan. How people could overcome prejudice and stereotypes against other people, and he was able to spread it and against other people, irrespective of class, gender, or ethnic background. He wrote, for example, at one place in First Epistle of John, is it also Gospels? He wrote, for example, Beloved, let us know one another, for love is of God. And everyone that is born, everyone that loveth is born of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God, is born of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God, and now of God. He who loveth not knoweth not God. He who loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. Okay, this is your presentation we're having planned so far. We're going to come back in the next part and we have another chance to go with it again shortly. That means if you were here for Biographyology, you can go directly to the next part of Biographyology, where we're going to go shortly over it again and try to make a presentation. If you stay here and participate in the tiptoe you have in this video, the feet are standing together. Briefly lift the arms up and come up from the toes. Out and down. In and up. Come always with the weight to the big toe. In and up. Out open to the side. Heels down. In and up. Out the other side. in and up. Make an inch of space between the feet, out onto the side. You can stay on heels, out of verticals. Breathe out and sink it down, now tiptoes. In and up. Out to the other side, you can go with heels down. In and up. Out and down on heels. In and up. Out the hands down. In the hands up onto tiptoes. Breathe out and sink down, stay on tiptoes. This can go onto the knees. In and up. Out and down. One more time, in and up. Out and down. In and up. Hands down, heels down. One foot points to the outside, the other one to the other side. Breathe in at the arms up. And out and middle front leg, come up on the tiptoes. Breathe in, reach in front. And out, lean back. Breathe in, straighten the front leg. And out, bending in. Middle and other side. Breathe in. And out, bend the front leg, come up on the tiptoes. Breathe in, reach in front. Out, lean back. Breathe in, straighten the front leg. Out and back. To the sides, breathe in the arms up. And out, sink down. One foot onto the toes, the other one. Breathe in, push up. Out and down. In and up. Out and down. In and up. Out the hands, down the feet together. Breathe in the hands up. Up on the tiptoes. And out and down, heels down. And the right leg stretched left one. In change, out, stretch right, in middle, get off. Out the feet to the side, keep down, breathe in, out the over to one leg, breathe in, out to the other side, breathe in, out the middle, bring the feet again together, breathe in, and out. Again in. And out comes slowly with the round back up. Back at the top, back roots, shoulder. Breathe in the hands up. Bring the hands to touch and let them down. That was the tiptoe yoga. I thank you very much and until next time.